Benny, are you there?
Bonsoir tout le monde. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our regular meeting of January 25th, 2021. Cette séance soit tenue ce soir en huis clos. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our regular meeting of January. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm hearing myself speaking again. I apologize for that. Cette séance soit tenue ce soir en huis clos et les membres du conseil y assistent d'une manière virtuelle, conformément à l'arrêté ministériel numéro 2020-074 du 2 octobre 2020 du ministère de la Santé et des Services sociaux. I'm joined this evening by Councillors Elizabeth Yulin, Councillors Maria Torres, Councillors Colleen Feeney, and Councillor Dino Mazzoni. As well, I'm joined by Maître Raphael Destasio, our Director General, Maître Claude Gilbert, who's our Town Clerk and is acting as the Secretary for the meeting, and Ms. Manon Chalk, who's our Communications Officer. Alors, si je peux demander quelqu'un pour proposer l'ouverture de la séance, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'ouvrir la séance.
Merci, la conseillère Yulin. Je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. Je peux avoir tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
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 Merci. Numéro 3, à l'adoption du jour. Je peux avoir quelques-uns pour proposer l'adoption du jour, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je m'excuse. Je propose d'adopter l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire du 25 janvier 2021, tel que présenté.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. Je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je l'appuie, Monsieur le maire.
Merci, le conseiller Mazzoni. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui. Oui.
Parfait, merci. L'approbation des procès-verbaux, s'il vous plaît.
Monsieur le maire, je propose d'approuver les procès-verbaux des séances du conseil tenues aux dates suivantes. Séance spéciale du 14 décembre 2020, séance ordinaire du 14 décembre 2020 et la séance spéciale du 21 janvier 2021.
Merci, le conseiller Mazzoni. Je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Feeney. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Oui.
Merci. And I just wanted to let everybody know the regular meetings was December 14th. There was a special meeting before that on December 14th. That was the budget meeting. And there was a special meeting on the 21st of January to give notice of motion for a bylaw that we will be adopting later this evening, changing the dates of our tax bills. Okay, so we're moving on to number 5. Numéro 5, c'est le rapport du maire. Here we go. Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir à tous. Welcome to our regular council. We will answer questions from residents submitted until 3 p.m. today on any topic. In the second question period, we will take questions pertaining to the agenda only, submitted via our website during this meeting. Bienvenue à notre réunion régulière du conseil municipal, la première en 2021. Nous répondrons aux questions des résidents soumis jusqu'à 15 heures aujourd'hui sur n'importe quel sujet. Et au cours de la deuxième période de questions, nous répondrons aux questions relatives à l'ordre du jour soumis via notre site web lors de cette réunion. We're well into 2021, and unfortunately, it's the same old, same old. We're in the middle of a government-mandated curfew that by all intents and purposes sounds like it's going to be a little bit longer than we thought. And the curfew right now limits our time outside, especially from 8 p.m. until 5 a.m. We're all adjusting daily and figuring out how to stay healthy, both physically and mentally, during these extremely trying times. We're making changes in our home lives, our work lives, in our social activities, and in our community. But let's remember that we're not going through this alone, and it's perfectly acceptable to reach out for help. We're a community, and that's used to helping each other and used to helping our fellow neighbors. I just wanted to answer a few questions that have already arisen in the new year. Yes, you'll see later on, and Councillor Feeney will give us more information. Montréal-Ouest will delay the due dates for our property tax payments. It was not a question of it being automatic just because Montreal went that way. The demerged municipalities' payments to make to the agglomeration council for shared services. And until I negotiated on behalf of the ASM an extension of the entente we had with Montreal, those agglo payments were still due as usual. So now if a demerged town delays due dates for its residents, it's allowed to delay its agglo payments. Our new due dates are May 25th and August 27th. The tax bill themselves are already printed with the original dates, but the new dates will be formalized in a bylaw that we will adopt later in the meeting. No, the curfew rule should not hamper when you put out your bins for garbage collection. Normally, we ask that only that the bins be put out late in the evening before collection. Obviously, we don't need you to take a chance going out at 8 p.m. on Mondays to put out the recycling and compost, or 8 p.m. on Wednesdays to put out your garbage. Put them out before the 8 p.m. curfew time. No, the light at Westminster and Sherbrooke has not become a permanent flashing red light. There's something defective in the control box, and we're working with KPH, the Turcotte contractor, to address the problem. Yes, the outdoor rinks are a huge success. Kudos to our teams that have developed the new configurations, new places, and have stepped up the maintenance to allow more residents to fully enjoy the outdoors. Be respectful of the fact that the government guidelines do not allow for hockey on the outside rinks unless it's from the same family, the same household. No, it's never the right thing to try and impede our teams from undertaking their tasks. If you think that a decision the town has made is incorrect, it's never acceptable to try and stop the work by blocking the employee or blocking the equipment. Instead, get in touch with the town administration or an elected official who covers that particular portfolio. Our team members know that respect for our residents is part of their job requirement, so the converse should be de rigueur as well. Yes, the garbage collection day has been changed to Thursdays, and even though we have sent out 3 different communications to that effect, we still have some merchants putting out their garbage on Thursday nights for a Friday collection. Please ensure your garbage is out by very early Thursday morning. And finally, let's continue to be safe. As have most places, we've experienced the bump in our numbers without any explanation on the how or the why. But let's not drop our guard, and remember to reach out if you need a hand. Please stay safe and be safe and stay safe. Thank you very much. We're going now to our first question period. So our first question period, given the circumstances, obviously we've asked people to submit their questions in advance. They had until 3 p.m. today. So I will read the question and then I'll ask a particular counselor to answer the question. If the same question was asked by many people, and that is the case most of the time, what I'll do is I'll try and group them together so we're not repeating the same question over and over and over again. All right, so we'll start our question period right now. Question number 1 comes from Joanna Dewey at 232 Percival Avenue. Dear Town Council members, I attended one of the sales presentations given by the Easton team last week. It looks like this project will fulfill a housing need in our town, which is great. It seemed, however, that there were some issues, example, decontamination of the site, traffic questions, removal of the John Sims designation of green space, that were either not fully addressed or would be more appropriately answered by Town Council members. Are there plans for a public consultation on this project? And if so, when do you expect that to be held? And a question along the same lines from Jennifer Melnick at 140 Ballantyne South. Hello, I attended the virtual presentation for the Easton development. I have some questions concerning regarding parking and traffic in that area. Currently, the intersection is quite busy with no street parking. Can the city require the Easton to add another level of underground parking for clients of commerce? What about the elderly or handicapped accessing the library by car? The intersection is notoriously dangerous, even with the 4-way pedestrian lights. What else will be done to improve this intersection with the new building, reducing sight lines for drivers? So I'm going to go back. Thanks to the collaboration between the town and the developer, the citizens of Montreal-West, which is what you're referring to in that session, who have shown interest in the project, were able to participate in a first-hand information session before everyone else. Regarding the decontamination of the land, if necessary, it'll be carried out by the developer according to the rules of the art and in accordance with the law on the quality of the environment. That's part of their obligations. Traffic concerns are addressed and studied by the town, which proposes appropriate adjustments when needed. As an example, the configuration of Avon and Westminster intersection will be changed to further secure the perimeter, and speed mitigation measures will be added on Avon. The traffic committee, which is composed of town staff and residents, will be consulted. For the John Sims Park, it will be part of the redevelopment project to find a suitable place to welcome it. The developer also mentioned that in their presentation, but we have yet to see where exactly it will come up in the development plans. And then the second part of that question, Parking units will be set up on Westminster in front of the Easton building. The plan is to maintain the reserved parking space for people with reduced mobility to access the library, right near the library. In terms of other parking spots for people using the library, there's always the spots behind Town Hall that will be accessible to them. Next question, and then I'm grouping some together as well. Question comes from Wes Walls at 47 Promenade Courtney, Sarah Brunel at 8025 Chemin Avon, Sandra Suissa Mograbi at 730 Sadam Street in Saint Laurent, and Ryan Johnson at 71 Courtney Drive, and Kevin Aladdin at 59 Courtney Drive. And it's talking about, and I'm just going to summarize, it's talking about the flashing lights and the increased or the decreased security for pedestrians using that intersection. So if I could ask Councillor Mazzoni to address that question, please. Oh, hang on one second here. Councillor Mazzoni seems to be having a technical issue. Hang on just one second, folks. Councillor Mazzoni, are you there? Okay, I don't see him there, so I will try and answer the questions. Basically, the problem is, here he is, Councillor Mazzoni. Are you with us, sir? Councillor Mazzoni, are you there? We don't hear you, Councillor Mazzoni. Maybe your mic is muted. Okay, so I'm going to answer the question then, folks. Oh,
Hey,
there
Benny, do you hear me? Benny, do you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. Do you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Oh my God. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so I'm gonna answer the question then. So basically, folks, the traffic lights are having, there's a defective piece in the traffic lights. We've been in touch with KPH, the people that were managing the Turcotte project. Those lights were installed by KPH and they actually belong to KPH. What we're doing, we're in the process of buying them now from KPH so that we can permanently install them at the corners. There's something defective in the control box. So KPH is in the process now of getting the piece that they need to repair that box and to render it a proper four-way light as it was in the past. Excuse me. So that's when that's going to happen, we don't know. We've been in touch with KPH and we're continuing to follow up on their time frame with them as well. So we don't know when it's going to be done, but it should be very, very soon. All right, and then there was a second part of the question from Kevin Aladdin. He was one of the gentlemen that asked the question about the lights. I know we've had issues with the garbage pickup recently. Does the town have recourse with the company when the garbage is not being picked up? Thank you, stay safe, and thank you for taking care of our town. Councillor Torres, can I ask you to answer that question, please?
Yes, very happy to do. Good evening, Mr. Aladdin. Just to let you know, yes, we do have recourses. When the cause of the garbage collection's failure lies with the contractor, there are contractual protections available to town. When it is caused by the citizen, then our duty is to raise awareness. We recently changed the garbage collection day and observed an adjustment period. That means, yes, we do have recourses, and given if it is their fault or their failure, if it is ours that we're not putting the garbage on time, then we can do something else. But it is very important for you, if the garbage was not picked up, that you contact the town by using the form available on our website, and we will respond with it with a reasonable time. We need to record all these issues so we can go back to the company and complain to them. But I want to keep you to keep in mind two things. First of all, that we changed the, remind you two things. We changed this, the schedule had changed, and the pickup is not done on Friday, but on Thursdays. The new company start picking up garbage very early. They start at 7 o'clock in the morning. So sometimes people put the garbage around 8. It is already too late. And the other thing is, because of the curfew, a lot of people usually put the garbage outside the night before, but because of the curfew, they cannot do it. We advise people to please put the garbage the night before. So the garbage is ready for the 7 o'clock pickup. If it doesn't get picked up, please let us know. check out our website and advise us that your garbage has not been picked up. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres, and thank you for everybody who asked the question about the lights. Councillor Mazzoni, I'd just like to do a microphone check. So can you try and say something? No, I guess that's not working. Okay, so we're going to move on to a question from Abby Shivitz at 138 Ballantyne Avenue North. Number one, the City of Montreal has decided to delay the installments for the 2021 property taxes first and September 1st. Has Montreal considered doing the same things for its residents? And if so, what are the new dates? So before we go on, Councillor Feeney, maybe you could address that, please.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for your question, Abby. As the mayor had mentioned just now in his report, okay, well, just some feedback. I'll wait till that's over. As head of the ASM, he was able to negotiate a deferral of our AGLO payments, which is passed on to all the demerged municipalities. We are passing this on to our residents, and the new due dates will be May the 25th and August the 27th. We did announce that in an e-bulletin, and we will be formalizing that with a motion at tonight's meeting. Thank you very much for your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. And the second and third questions from Ms. Shivitz. Does the town plan to offer programming instruction at the pool this summer? And when will the plan for the summer, including registration dates, be announced? And number three, has the city, as Cotinluc has already begun recruiting lifeguards, when will West begin the hiring process for summer pool positions, as well as the day camp, assuming day camp takes place? Councillor Yulin, can you address the questions, please?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Abby, for those questions. Well, listen, it's too soon to say, to be honest with you, whether or not we're going to be able to offer a full scale programming this summer. Last summer, as you know, we were able to open the pool, and we certainly hope to be able to do that again. We weren't able to open the camp, but we're certainly hopeful we will be able to offer a camp this summer, but we have to wait and see about that. So I don't have any news for you on that, and you're not the only one who's asked that question. When will the date be announced? Honestly, we kind of are at the mercy of the provincial government that gives us our directives. So we're going to have to wait. Listen, my guess would be we'll know probably sometime in the early spring, but even that might be optimistic. We'll certainly let you know as soon as we do know, because everyone here wants to offer these services. You asked about hiring and when we're going to start doing that. Well, because we may be offering, and hopefully we'll be offering these services, we will be starting the hiring process the same as we do every year, and that will be in the next week or so. We're going to start posting the jobs available and such for the pool and the camp and all our summer programs. So that process is well underway, and we are just going full steam ahead with that, with an assumption that we'll be able to offer the services, frankly, just as we did last year. So you ought to be able to see those postings popping up shortly, and we will almost certainly have a bulletin about it when those applications are open on the website. Okay, thanks so much for your question, Abby.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin, and thank you for your questions, Abby Shivitz. Councillor Mazzoni, can we do just a microphone check?
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yes, we do. We hear you perfectly.
I want to apologize to everybody. This is the first time it's happened, but it's amazing it's the first time it's happened. So
thank you very much, Councillor Mazzoni. All right, the next question comes from Andre Chenier, 430 Hudson Avenue, Montreal-West. Number one, the municipal bylaw states no overnight parking is allowed. So why is our TS, which we assume is town security, permitted to issue permanent overnight parking passes on Hudson? A, without proper verification. I have expressed my frustration about cars that are issued permits when these homes have double garages and lots of parking on driveways. We moved to Montreal-West to get away from NDG chaotic streets, and our town security has informed me that they will not respond to my complaints. So if there's a second question, but if I could ask you to answer the first question, Councillor Mazzoni, please.
Okay, so you'll bear with me, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your question, Mr. Chenier, but it is a long answer, and I'm going to give you a long answer because this is not the first time we have actually answered this question. specifically to Mr. Chenier. And for future reference, if it does get asked again, I'll ask that people go back to this broadcast of January the 25th. Now, I want to be very clear. There are 18 multiple dwelling units on this street, and there's only 5 to 6 long-term overnight street parking permits that are issued for this section of Hudson every year, which is not even comparable to the streets in NDG with similar density. So when we talk about the chaotic nature of our streets, I really do not want to give that narrative. So here's the long answer, please bear with me. Overnight street parking is prohibited throughout the town between 2 and 5 a.m., with the exception of residents that have 24-hour overnight parking permits and vehicles that have temporary guest or visitor parking permits. For the temporary visitor permits, visitors or residents can apply for them online. However, they're limited to 30 nights per calendar year per license plate. After the 30th permit is issued, the system automatically blocks that license plate from reapplying for the remainder of the year. For long-term residential 24 hours overnight parking permits, the residents need to fill out an application form that requires proof of residency and proof of vehicle ownership. If the applicant is a homeowner, they must prove that they own or lease more vehicles than they have room to park on their driveway and garage. In the case of a tenant, we also require that the landlord fills out and signs an attestation form that states that there are no available parking spaces to rent on the property. So in all cases, the PSOs, our public security officers, will physically check that the information is correct before issuing the permit. In addition, there is a limit of 2 such permits allowed per civic address. For duplexes and triplexes with shared driveways, this can be a little tricky, as there are often servitudes that prohibit vehicles from being parked on the driveway in order to allow access to the garages, especially in cases where the garage is at a 90-degree pitch or angle to the driveway, as is the case for most duplexes on Hudson, Wolsey, Roxton, and Radcliffe. Some property owners have come to some agreements where they can park all of their cars in such driveways, but public security cannot force people to violate servitudes. Therefore, only legal parking spaces are counted. I'm almost there, a few more paragraphs. Due to our bylaws, those that have private parking spaces are forced to use them, whereas in other towns in similar high-density areas that don't have permit restrictions, one can often note that people tend to monopolize the street parking by parking on the street while keeping their driveways empty, thus making it more difficult for those who do not have access to private parking to find a spot. So look, we're going to always respond to any complaints about people who feel that there's, someone that doesn't have a valid parking permit, etc. But these are the limitations that we live with within the city. It does cause some consternation at times, but I want to be very clear. One individual's constant consternation does not necessarily speak for the full of the town, certainly not necessarily for the full of that street. So I hope I've given you, Mr. Chenier, a very detailed answer. If you'd like, and I will mention in my report, you can contact me directly because the repeated questioning to the PSOs and our repeated answer to you will not change that situation. I thank you for your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mazzoni. And the second question from Mr. Andre Chenier, does our town have a manager? If so, he or she should explore amalgamating our TS, town security, with Côte St. Luc. In Mr. Chenier's opinion, $517,000 is too much expense. I'm going to answer that question ourselves. Mr. Chenier, yes, we do have a town manager, our director general. Her name is Maître Raphael Destasio. We do have public security. And our public security, even though that it is an option to amalgamate, we've actually lived this kind of stuff with the police department, with the fire department, and to a greater extent with the forced amalgamation back in the late 90s, early 2000s. There was absolutely no benefit to that, and we fought very hard to get back our town, and we fought very hard to get back most of our services. So I don't think that it's an option right now to think about amalgamating our services, because the public security isn't just about parking and when to answer people's questions about who's allowed to park on the street and not allowed to park on the street. Our public security is also there to make sure that they check on your house when you're on vacation, and they make sure that if there's something they see, they know the neighborhood, and if they see something untoward, they can get in touch with the police. And that's the benefit of having a public security that belongs to the town and is servicing only our town and not servicing 5 towns put together. Thank you very much for your questions, Mr. Chenier. Number 10, the question comes from Nathalie Benaroche, 82 Percival Avenue. Have there been any changes with regard to Royal West students at lunch? I continue to see students violating COVID safety measures. What is the town's role in this matter? Unfortunately, Ms. Benarosh, the town has no real role in this matter. COVID violations or enforcing COVID rules falls to the SPVM on the island of Montreal. However, we have spoken to the town administration in the past. I spoke to the town administration on Friday. I spoke to them again this evening before the meeting. They are continuing to make efforts to raise awareness and educate its students. We can let them know about your concerns, as I have already. It is an issue that is the responsibility of the school, but we work with them to communicate certain situations and try to help them find solutions. Our public security officers, they're there to help raise awareness when they notice a problematic situation, but it's only, as I said, it's only the SPVM that is responsible for enforcing ministerial decrees and has the power to issue fines. Thank you very much for your questions, Natalie Benarosh. Anne Roop at 152 Bedbrook. Hello, I live beside the park and have the families really enjoying the toboggan hill you made for them. It's wonderful, and I'm sure the kids and parents alike are very grateful for the outdoor fun. Thank you so much for making is whether to add another hill, be smaller for the toddlers, so that more people can enjoy it at the same time. Thank you for all the things in place to make playing and being outside more inviting. If I could ask Councillor Yulin to respond to that, please.
Yes, certainly. I'll be happy to answer that. Thanks, Anne, for your question. Well, that's a great idea. I really appreciate your thoughts on the larger hill, and also your suggestion on having a smaller one for the small kids, the toddlers. In fact, when I got your question today, I passed it along to Recreation, and they also thought it was a great idea. We may have to wait for a little bit more snow to create that hill, but I understand it's in the forecast. So you ought to be able to see a little hill for the little guys fairly soon. But thank you so much for your comment and your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin, and thank you for your question, Anne Roop. Next question comes from Ian Robinson, 140.
I'm just going to interrupt this. Is the Mr. Mayor being heard? Can somebody please speak up, fellow councillors?
Yes, no, I just sent
I think he's
sent a chat message that I could not, he was frozen, so.
Yeah, we're having gremlins here. Who is our pro-mayor? Is that you, Councillor
Yes,
Yulin?
it is. Hold on, I'm going to just have a look at the question and read it for him. Just a moment.
And we certainly apologize to everybody for this.
No, that's, yeah, okay, so that's Ian Robinson. Okay, so Ian, Ian had a question. I will read it. 143 Ballantyne North. The city of Beaconsfield is claiming $4 million from the Montreal agglomeration as per a recent article in the Suburban. Beaconsfield suggests an error in the algorithm to calculate the proportionate shares for the regional services related to a change made to the algorithm. My question to the mayor has several components. All right. Has Montreal-West done an evaluation of the algorithm in relation to our community to ensure the formula is correct? Secondly, do the other demerged municipalities share Beaconsfield's concerns about the algorithm? Thank you. Okay, so I'm assuming we still don't have the mayor. You know what, Ian, that was a message specific to the mayor. If there are other councillors who want to weigh in on this, my memory of his answer was that yes, other municipalities have concerns as well, and that we have done an evaluation of the algorithm, but I would much prefer if he answered that question for you, since you've addressed it to him. So you can, unless other counselors want to weigh in on that at the moment, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll wait for the mayor to get back to you. I'm sure he'll be online when we get the glitches out of this Zoom meeting. So we'll move on to Sheila. Well, let me just ask my fellow counselors, is there anything else you folks want to weigh in on here before we get
No,
Benny back?
No,
No,
I think it's important that Benny answers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
think so.
Ms. Promare, I think he had indicated he wanted to give a detailed answer on this, so we'll wait for him.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. So now we have Sheila Ettinger at 438 Hudson. So let's see, number one, what is the status of checking for lead pipes into our homes? This is also a question for Benny. Benny, are you there? Are you hearing me?
I am. Can you hear me? I apologize.
Yeah,
Can you
no,
hear me?
that's fine.
Yeah.
So you know what, we're gonna, well, I was just filling in for you while you were offline, but
I see.
Ian Robinson's question actually was up first, and I read the question, and perhaps it's about the algorithm for the
Perfect.
Aglo
Okay.
number. So maybe you want to answer that, and then you'll take the floor back.
I appreciate it. Thank you for filling in, Councillor Yulin. So to read that, you read Mr. Robinson's question?
I did, yes.
Okay, so to answer the question, Mr. Robinson, yes, the Montreal-West is aware of the algorithm. Yes, the other towns are also aware of the algorithm. No, the other towns are not of the same opinion and concerns, or they don't share the same method of attacking the problem that Beaconsfield is trying to follow. The other towns are following a path where we're sitting down with Montreal, and we're being supervised by the Minister of Municipal Affairs to try and negotiate a settlement, because we feel that's a better way. A lot of the things that are being put forward by Beaconsfield are not something that we agree with. So that is why we've privileged, or that's why we're prioritizing sitting down with the Minister of Municipal Affairs. And our meetings with the Minister of Municipal Affairs, sitting down with Montreal, are already scheduled and are starting the first few days in February. So we hope that that leads to a negotiated settlement that actually reduces costs for Montreal-West and for the demerged municipalities, where we're trying to move things towards user pay rather than just readjusting a system that is way past its best before date. That's the system we have now. It's way past its best before date. And in our opinion, what Beaconsfield is doing is just adjusting a system that is no longer useful to us. Thank you for your questions, Mr. Robinson. Sheila Ettinger. Councillor Yulin, did you read the question for Sheila Ettinger? Okay, thank you very much. So the question from Sheila Ettinger at 438 Hudson. What is the status for checking for lead pipes leading into our homes? And to the most recent call I received from the town regarding a water shutdown, thank you, was one I almost did not answer because there was no caller ID. So can messages from the town please be identified as such? So the town undertakes testing. The City of Montreal supplies potable water and is responsible for the quality of the water. The City of Montreal conducts annual screening tests in collaboration with the town of Montreal-West. The results of these test inspections is always communicated with the owners. It is a work that's ongoing in progress. And you can actually check on our website. There's a great frequently asked questions about this. You can just search under lead pipes, and you should be able to see where things are at. In terms of the code red, that's a service that's being provided to us by a company in Florida. So that company cannot identify things as the town of Montreal-West. They can identify things. They always call from the same phone number. So the first step is to maybe recognize that phone number and know it's code red. The second step would be also to check that you're registered, not just with your home phone number, but with have a cell phone number registered and an email registered. That way it'll validate when you don't recognize one number one way, you may get it on the other, and it'll validate it for you and make you more comfortable to be able to pick up that call. But we will find out from them if they could at least say it's code red, rather than trying to say it's the town of Montreal-West or the town of Dayton, Ohio, or the town of anywhere else in North America that they're servicing. If they can get them to say that it's at least code red, that may help alleviate the questions that you're questioning. Okay, thank you very much for your question. Virginia Beck at 73 Wolseley North is asking, would it be possible for the city to agree with Meadowbrook Golf owners to let citizens walk and ski on their property in the winter? Even if this is only during the pandemic and for a fee, it would be a nice reprieve. Councillor Yulin, if I could ask you to answer that question, please.
Certainly. Thank you very much for your question, Virginie. We've gotten this question before, and in fact, we've had it many years before as well. The issue with Meadowbrook is none of Meadowbrook is actually on Montreal-West territory. It's on the territory of Lachine and Côte Saint-Luc. We're only adjacent to Meadowbrook, so we don't have any leverage really to speak of to request anything of Meadowbrook. In the past, when we approached them about the possibility of people using the golf course in the off season, they weren't at all receptive to that. It had to do mostly with the fact that it was private property and there were issues around insurance and such when the public is allowed into the space. And so it's not really something, as I say, we've been asked this before, it's not really something we feel we can pursue. I know people do use the golf course informally when it's off season, but in terms of a formal agreement with them, we don't have one, and it's not something that we feel we really can pursue at this time. But thank you very much for your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin, and thank you for your question, Virginia Beck. The next question comes from Daniel Budd, 193 Wolseley Avenue North. We moved to this town less than 5 years ago and were required to purchase a new garbage bin. Since then, the garbage collectors have destroyed our garbage bin. Is it our responsibility to purchase a new garbage bin every 4 years? I believe the town or the previous garbage pickup company should be providing a new garbage bin, since it is highly unusual that a brand new garbage bin would be destroyed completely within 4 years of use. So if I'm going to ask Councillor Torres to answer that question, please. Councillor Torres, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Budd, Daniel Budd, what I'm going to do is I'm going to forward your email to Public Works, and they will look after it. But I'm going to ask you as well to send them, to contact them, because they need to have the request directly from you, and they also need to have these on their records. You can do that by completing the online damage bin form via our website in the waste collection section under the Citizen Services tab. So as I said, I will send it to them, but please, if you can contact them via email about our website, that would be very important. Thank you so much. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres, and thank you for your question, Daniel Budd. Next question comes from Ellen Moore, 122 Percival Avenue. Number one, can plastic bags clean be put into the recycling bin and be recycled? And number two, can containers like those for Comet Cleanser, metal top and bottom, cardboard middle, be put into the recycling bin and be recycled? Councillor Torres, please.
Yes. Hi, Ellen. Two good questions. We normally recommend people to check our website. We have a list of things that are recyclable. And if it is not there, maybe to connect the website Sava-U, which is a website by Recycle Quebec, and it has a long list of things that are recyclable or not. However, both lists are, it could be, some information could be added. For the first one, can plastic bags, the clean ones, can be put into recycle? Yes, our website says yes. However, I have a point to add. The best way to do it, the way that the recycling company recommends, is to take a transparent bag and put all your plastic bags, all the clean bags inside. Once it's full, you make a knot and then put it into the blue bin. The reason is because sometimes these bags get flown into the air and end up in places that they should not be. So yes, it is recyclable. Put them all in a transparent plastic bag back into the recycling bin. For the second question, I couldn't find the answer in either one of the other addresses, so I'm going to have to look it up for you, and I will let you know next time during my report next month, so everybody can find out what to do with mixed materials. So that's it. I will let you know for the second time. Thank you so much for your questions.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres, and thank you for your question, Ellen Moore. Next question comes from Donna McLaughlin, 156 Ballantyne South. Why did you remove the colorful lights in park beside dog park? They were very uplifting and added an element of safety as the area was bright and illuminated for women walking alone with a dog at night. I understand the Christmas lights on Town Hall and Christmas tree can come down after the holiday period, but in my opinion, the colorful lights on the tree trunks had nothing to do with Christmas and everything to do with the pandemic rainbow, colors and safety. Number two, lift up the little rink at the community center too dark at night. I think they meant light up the rink. So if I could ask Councillor Torres to answer the first part of the question, and maybe Councillor Yulin or Councillor Torres can answer the second part. Go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. Hi, Donna. I think we all agree that the lights were very nice, and you're right. It would have been nice to keep them. However, I don't think it was something we discussed ahead of time. And Public Works removed them because that's what they do with the Christmas lights every year. That was unfortunate. Maybe next year we can ask them to leave them a little bit longer, but for this year it was already done. They did it automatically as they do every year. And if you don't mind, I'll answer the second one, which is lit up the ring at the park. We're going to ask Public Works to see if they can add some lights in there. I think it's a great idea. Thank you, Donna, for your questions.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres, and thank you very much for your questions, Donna McLaughlin. Next question comes from John Buckles, 315 Westminster North. I heard of a potential passageway being considered running along the power lines from Westminster North overpass to Ville Saint-Laurent. Would be a bike/running path. One, is it true? And two, can you share the plans? Councillor Torres, who has been sitting on this committee with Hydro-Quebec, I'm going to ask you to give us some information on that, please.
Yes, Mr. Buckles, you're absolutely right. You heard right. Hydro-Quebec, it is working on a green corridor. They intend to invest more than $500 million into modernizing the transmission network, which runs in Montreal from Ville La Salle to all the way to Ville Saint-Laurent. Along the network, they want to create or enhance the green public areas, and that includes our area in Montreal-West. We've been talking to them, and we have negotiated. We have proposed certain things, which includes a walking path, nature path, etc. They will make a proposal to us, and then we will be presented to the public. But so far, we don't have the details, but it is true that they're doing it. Also, the City of Montreal has a proposal to convert the same area, but a little bit longer, I think about 10 kilometers longer, where they would use it also as a green park area. So we're very happy that this is happening, but we don't have any projects yet. They haven't presented it to us. As soon as we have that, it would consult the public and we will let everybody know. Thank you so much for your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres, and thank you very much for your question, Mr. Buckles. Next question, ça vient de Dominique Daou, 18 Wolseley Avenue Sud. Bonjour, je n'ai pas de questions. Je voulais tout simplement remercier la ville de Montréal-Ouest d'avoir décoré la ville avec beaucoup de lumière colorée cette année. Ça a vraiment égalé notre quartier. J'espère que ça deviendra un nouveau standard, qu'il y ait pandémie ou pas. Aussi, un gros merci pour l'ajout des patinoires extérieures. Bravo aux employés de la ville qui les entretiennent si bien et qui l'ont décoré avec des sapins. C'est génial et je crois qu'elles sont très bien utilisées. Ça aussi, j'espère que la ville maintiendra pour les années à venir. Merci. Merci pour votre commentaire, Madame Daou. C'est une chose que ça a été soulevé. Je pense que ça va être soulevé plus tard dans les questions aussi. C'est une chose, si on peut continuer à les faire chaque année, c'est une chose qu'on va discuter et il faut dédier des ressources pour le faire, mais c'est une chose qu'on va discuter à l'Assemblée du Conseil ensemble. Je vous remercie pour votre question. Next question comes from Sherry McGurnan at 322 Westminster Avenue North. Hello, question number 1. If a landlord advises that we should not drink tap water, who's responsible for that, the city or the landlord? Is it possible to have the water tested to make sure it's safe to drink? I believe the city of Montreal provides water pitchers to people whose water isn't safe to drink. Is this something that we do in Montreal-West as well? And question 2, if a fence is too far out in the driveway, in a laneway, causing issues with snow piling up and accessing the driveway safely, is there anything that can be done? So for the first part of the question, if I could ask Councillor Torres to answer, please.
Yes, of course. Hi, Sherry. Listen, I'm not very clear on your question. I do have a few questions for you before I answer. So if you don't mind, I'm going to contact you tomorrow. I'll send you an email with my contact information so you can give me a call and maybe give me a little bit more information about the letter that you received and what's it coming. Is it from the city? It's from the landlord? What's the issue? So that's what we'll do, and then I'll be able to answer your question properly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres. And the second part of the question, if I could ask Councillor Feeney to answer, please.
Okay, yes, thank you for your question, Sherry. Once again, this is a very specific question, and I need to know a little bit more detail, particularly about the fence, before answering it. In other words, exactly where is it on somebody's property line or whatever. So I'm going to contact you directly and get some more information, and that way we hope we can get a solution on it. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney, and thank you for your question, Sherry McGurnan. Next question comes from Norbert Badusha, 457 Wolseley Avenue North. Since the change in garbage pickup, the east side of Wolseley North, of course, north of the hump, has not had garbage pickup, and complaints were submitted to Public Works, who have had to make alternate arrangements. Please advise that this problem has been resolved. Councillor Torres, please.
Yes, hi Norbert. Thank you for asking this question. I don't know if you heard, I spoke a little bit briefly before as well concerning this issue. And Public Works is well aware of the inconvenience that the change in collection schedule has caused. Public Works is working with them, with the new company, to ensure that they pick up the garbage on Thursdays according to the new schedule. But the other issue with it is that the people still putting the garbage on Fridays, not on Thursday, so it doesn't get picked up. Or they're putting it after 8 o'clock in the morning, where the guys start picking it up at 7. So we recommend, so yes, Public Works is on top of things they're looking into, but they also have sent a few notices for everybody to make sure that they remember the new day for garbage is Thursday, and to put the garbage out before 7 o'clock in the morning. Because of the curfew, we advise people to put it the night before. You're allowed to leave it the night before. You don't have to wait after 9. Put it at whatever time is suitable for you, just to ensure that the garbage is out by 7 o'clock in the morning. Thank you so much, and please let me know if you don't see any improvement, but you should, because they're on top of it. Thank you so much, Norbert.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres, and thank you for your question, Norbert Badusha. Next question comes from Harold Knowles, 256 Percival Avenue. The ice rink in Strathern Park is a great idea. Why not do it every year? In fact, all Montreal-West parks that have the space should have a rink. Councillor Yulin, please.
Thank you very much for your question, Harold. And thank you for your comment. Yes, it has been great to have all these new rinks in the various parks. And we did it, of course, because we don't have the arena now, and it's COVID. So we want people to be able to exercise and do it outside. And we want to have enough room so people don't have to be crowded in these places. You know, we've learned a lot from COVID in the sense that we've had to try new things, and some of these may very well go into the future as things that become a tradition in Montreal-West, whether it's putting up lights in certain places or having other kinds of rinks or recreational structures and activities. It's hard to say, though, now which ones we're going to go forward with in the coming years and which ones we no longer can support. So I'll just tell you that I know we're getting great feedback from these things, and we're going to evaluate all of them for next year when hopefully there is no more pandemic. And we're going to see which ones we feel like we can continue with. But I don't want to guarantee anything for now, because we look at the costs, and we look at the feasibility, and we look at the kind of year we're having, and we'll make our decisions at that point. But thanks very much for your question, and I really appreciate your comment as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin, and thank you for your question, Harold Knowles. Next question comes from Stan Carney, 449 Wolseley Avenue. I'm not going to read the question. Mr. Carney is advocating again for tempos to be allowed in Montreal-West, and this is the 3rd or 4th month that Mr. Carney is raising this question. The question has been asked and answered, Mr. Carney, so we're not going to go further into it. You do ask another question. Mr. Mayor, during the heated debates on Bill 21, you were strongly opposed. You were so adamant that you stated that you could not see yourself working in such an environment and that you would resign. Bill 21 was finally adopted and passed into law, yet you are still in office. Can you explain what happened to make you change your word? That I missed some important retraction on your part? No, Mr. Carney, you didn't miss any kind of retraction on my part, because you misunderstood anything I said. I absolutely never said I would resign. I said that I would have trouble following a law that forbid me from hiring, as an example, a town clerk that was wearing a hijab, or a town clerk that was wearing a kippah or a cross, or whatever the case may be. And so my thing was that I would have trouble following that rule. And I, quite honestly, I took a lot of heat from the likes of Bernard Drainville, who said that it was civil disobedience and things along those lines. But I never said, and I would never say that it's very cheap to say, oh yeah, I would resign if that's the case. It's very cheap to say that. I did not say that. So I don't know where you got that exactly, but that's absolutely no basis in reality. Thank you for your question, Stan Carney. Next question comes from Diane Kolica, 154 Brock. Dear council member, the provincial government's new policy of distribution of 2 disposable masks per student per day in high school will result in thousands of masks distributed each week. What consideration can be given to measures to avoid disposal of masks on our sidewalks and streets in town, and or the safe cleanup if needed? The management of soiled masks is very important, Ms. Kolica. Schools must take the necessary steps to avoid this kind of problem. In the town, we'll remain vigilant. However, if this appears on our territory, on our streets, and on our sidewalks, we will intervene. The waste must be handled with care, and it is the collective responsibility for everybody, the town and the schools and the people using the masks at the end of the day. Thank you very much for your question, Mrs. Kolica. Question comes from Yelena Roy at 2021 Curzon. Hello, I would like to know if it would be possible to offer a subsidy for families using cloth diapers. It is important to encourage green alternatives. NDG already offers this subsidy. Thank you. Councillor Torres, please.
Yes, I thank you so much. Hi, Mrs. Roy. Just to let you know that at the moment we're working on a waste management strategic plan. And one of the things is that we're exploring the different situations for a plan of action. And that includes all the waste management in the town. So yes, we're looking into it. We will be looking into it, and we will also have public consultations and workshops this year, and you would be able to bring these questions forward if that is an issue. But I thank you so much for bringing this forward. We will make sure that we include it in our discussions, and we will let you know when we have the public consultations. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres, and thank you for your question, Yelena Roy. And last question comes from Louis Chenevert at 70A Roxton. It's actually 2 questions. First question, the COVID signage over the hump bridge needs to be corrected, as all 4 corner signs say sidewalk is one way. That is impossible. There should be 2 one-way and 2 no enter signs. The signage needs to be followed, as we are in a red zone and in curfew. Could the PSOs ensure that there's more observance? There are many pedestrians crossing others with less than 2 meters without wearing a mask. The 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. restriction is not useful when students are in class and people walk, ski, or snowshoe along the Hydro-Quebec corridor. Please change the sign. See photos, and unfortunately the photos weren't included with the question. The signage needs to be clarified as the west side walk cannot be one way both north and southbound. And the second question is about the snow removal in the rear parking lot of 306090 Sheridan. Is a repeat of last year where trees were knocked down. Snow is being pushed further into the forest. Please find a long-term solution, i.e. request that the snow be pushed onto the adjacent field. Both the parking and the field are Hydro-Quebec property. Again, see attached photos, and none were included. So if I can ask Councillor Mazzoni to answer this question, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Louise, for your question. So to answer your first one, yes, we were made aware earlier this month. We had received some information for some of these conflicting signs on the suggested one-way sidewalk over the hump bridge. The signs have been corrected. Pedestrians wishing to go north must use the east sidewalk of the bridge in the same direction as traffic, and those wishing to walk southbound must use the west side. The only exception during school hours, where children are permitted to use the west side to go to and from school in order to avoid them having to cross Westminster. That was just out of an abundance of caution that we adopted that rule, and we had indicated as much in some earlier meeting of council here on in our podcast. I do want to mention, you talk about, can the PSOs do more to encourage observance? You got to understand the PSOs will do what they can. It's very hard. We just can't, get out of the car and start pushing people aside or telling them how far to walk from within each other. The PSOs really try to educate our residents when they do see some of these infractions or when they see that people are not wearing masks. I mean, they make yeoman-like efforts to try to do a lot of this stuff, but a lot of it is incumbent fundamentally on each of us. In terms of your question regarding snow removal, Louise, I distinctly remember you coming to a town council meeting, perhaps one of our last ones about a year ago, where you mentioned this. And all I could say to you is, if you want to look for a long-term solution, you're going to probably have to direct this request to Hydro. Both that parking and in fact the parking lot in the field are in fact owned by Hydro, as you yourself have acknowledged. That's something it's a private lot. You're just going to have to speak to them and see what accommodation can be had. We have no jurisdiction in that area. So again, it's not that I want to pass the buck on to them, but there are rules about that. So if you make an effort, try with Hydro Quebec. If that doesn't work, come back to us, see what potential we can do to help you get some leeway with them. But that really has to be directed to them. Thank you for your questions, Louise.
Thank you for that, Councillor Mazzoni, and thank you for your question, Louise Chenevert. Normally we have councillors' reports at the end of the meeting. We've moved them up this time to right after the question period, because we want to make sure that the councillors are able to reach as many citizens as possible, as big an audience that have tuned in as possible. So we moved councillors' reports up to after the first question period. So tonight we're going to start from seat number 2, reporting on matters pertaining to communications, recreation, and culture. Councillor Elizabeth Hewlin, please.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone. I'll start with the community center and fitness program. So our fitness session started on January 11th, and we're also offering a number of free virtual activities for families, such as drawing, story time, trivia night, and lots more. So if you're interested in any of those, you check out all the program details online. Unfortunately, our traditional March break camp will not be permitted to be operated in the red zone this year. But we'll continue to offer online activities to keep the kids as busy as we can over this March break period. The seniors activities had a lineup of virtual meetings in January and February, including a tour of Scotland, Robbie Burns Day, and talks on Alaskan wilderness and ageism awareness, among many other topics. So there were a bunch this month, and others are coming up in the month of February. It's been a real challenge, of course, to schedule special events under the new directives, but we've managed to provide some pop-up entertainment with music and hot chocolate at the outdoor rinks this month, and those type of ad hoc activities will continue. I hope you'll understand that we're not allowed to operate any regular entertainment that would gather a crowd, but we've managed to have these pop-up activities that you might just come upon when you're out there using some of our facilities. On January 30th and February 7th, you'll be able to try out some free snowshoeing in the park, but you'll have to register for a place via Amelia. And our Creative Snowman Challenge is on until February 28th, and the snow's perfect for it now, so please go to the website and sign up for that. Before the lockdown this month, we were able to offer family hockey ice time and free skate bookings at the arena, and had over 120 hockey rentals and over 600 for free skate. Of course, that had to stop when the lockdown came, but we will hope to resume the program when the lockdown is over, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that will be soon. To make up for the loss of the arena, as I mentioned during question period, we had several other more outdoor rinks created. So we now have 9 spread over 4 different parks, and the newest one being Strathern, which is a lovely new surface. We've cleared the running track at Hodgson's as well, and created a new 250-meter path at Strathern for cross-country skiing, and built a sledding hill at George Booth Park. And now, as perhaps you heard during question period, there'll be another little one for the toddlers. And we strive to keep you and the kids busy this winter and happily bushed at the end of the day. And hopefully we're being successful. We've gotten a lot of good comments about that from many residents. So that's very gratifying. This month, the Artist Showcase will be exhibited online with the theme of the great outdoors. And so if you're interested in exhibiting, please contact Marion Scully at the Community Center, and she'll give you some more details. Last but not least, I'm switching to the communications file, and I'd like to report, I guess not surprisingly, that the department has been working largely on matters related to the new lockdown, such as signage for the outdoor recreation, e-bulletins, and web updates outlining any new restrictions on top of their regular workload. And of course, managing the broadcasts like this one to keep you informed. So that's it for me. If you have any questions, we have a second question period at the end of the meeting, and I'd be very happy to answer any of them later on tonight. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin. Reporting on matters pertaining to urban planning, finance, administration, and human resources. Reporting from seat number 3, Councillor Colleen Feeney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and Happy New Year, everybody. Bonne année. Welcome to the meeting. I'm going to start off by talking about administration and finance. Both teams have been very busy this month. In administration, they're working with the team of managers on 2021 objectives and projects, as well as preparing for the every 5 year salary equity review, and ensuring, of course, that the town is meeting all the requirements put out by the government insofar as the regulations related to COVID-19. The business office team is busy preparing property tax bills, income tax forms for employees, and government reports. And as soon as that is complete, they will be starting to work on the year-end audit for the town and also for the pension committee for employees. The tax bills will be mailed out tomorrow. As the mayor mentioned, thanks to a deal made with the AGLO, we are delaying the payments. The first installment will be due May 25th and the second one August the 27th. And this will be confirmed later this meeting with a bylaw change. For those who did not tune into our budget meeting in December, the tax increase for the average valued home is 0.99%. There is a summary of the 2021 budget on the Montreal-Ouest website, as well as it will be in the Informer this particular month. Next, the deadline for the renewal for the dog and parking permits was December the 24th. This was extended to mid-January due to the situations here with people being off work, etc. The grace period is now over, so I would highly recommend that those who want to renew these permits do so promptly so that they do not get fined. In terms of disbursements this past month, we spent $550,766. I like to give residents an idea of where their tax money has gone. As usual, the main expenditures were about 35% of this went to deductions at source, benefits, and utilities. That totaled about $192,000. And next, there was about $30,000 for public works. And there again, the main expenditures are for the garbage, recycling, and compost. That was $33,000. Equipment and supplies were about $25,000. Snow removal about $20,000. And then other expenditures were in the field in administration, in particular, the annual review of our renewal, I should say, not review, updates and renewal of our IT contract for $42,000. We also had some consultants working in for our capital projects, and that was about $40,000 for 2 different projects there. Sorry, that was about $30,000 for those 2 projects there. I'll move on to urban planning. 9 permits were issued in the past month, and the next PAC meeting will be February the 17th. Submissions are due February the 3rd. The 2021 dates for all the PAC meetings and deadlines are on the website. However, due to the great number of projects that we reviewed in January, we are looking at this, and if the number of the projects keep coming up, we might schedule an extra meeting in March. So I'm going to ask people, residents, to please check the website to see if this is the case, where a deadline might change. We'll also let you know via an e-bulletin in that case. Also want to remind you that even though the Urban Planning Department is fully operational during the pandemic, permit applications can only be made online through the town's website, and the procedure is explained under urban planning. And then finally, on the Seniors Committee, the Montreal-West Age-Friendly Policy and Plan of Action was delivered to all Montreal-West households in December. If you did not receive a copy, please leave a message at the community center and we will see that one is delivered to you. There is a free online seminar on ageism on February 18th at 1:30 p.m. and it's going to be hosted by the Observatory on Aging and Society, a nonprofit Quebec organization. If you want to register for this, you can register by emailing recreation@montreal-west.ca, and the information will also be put up on our seniors webpage. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me later or to send me an email. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. Reporting from seat number 4 on matters pertaining to the environment, public works and buildings, Councillor Maria Torres.
Bonsoir à tous. Good evening. The Public Works Department has been in full swing over the past month. Along with clearing and salting all of the streets, sidewalks, and town buildings, they have performed 2 snow operations. The first was on January 3rd and 4th, while the other one was on January 17th to the 19th. On January 8th, there was a water break at 467 Hudson. The break was on an 8-inch water main and was repaired with a sleeve. The crews have been very busy collecting and shipping all the discarded Christmas trees, and they have removed all of the holiday decorations around town. Garbage gets picked up daily, and all of the municipal buildings get cleaned and disinfected on a regular basis. Today, I want to remind all Montreal-West residents of some of the measures to follow during the snow removal operations. First, I would like to say again to please be aware of the no parking signs during a snow operation. Public Works places bright orange signs on the streets that are to be cleared, as well as those streets that are used by trucks to access the Public Works yard and the snow dump. Public Works remove these signs as soon as you're finished with the operation and not before that. So please respect the directives. Secondly, try to park at least 6 inches away from the sidewalk in order to give enough room for the sidewalk plows to pass. And thirdly, I would like to echo this week's message from the mayor, where he stated that it is never the right thing to try to impede our teams from undertaking their task. If any of you have an issue with the way the operation is being carried out, please contact the town's administration or any of us, any of the elected officers here. We will look into the matter, but please do not try to stop the work by blocking the town's employees or their equipment. We realize that some of these measures and operational practices can be inconvenient for some residents. However, it is for everybody's safety, as well as the overall snow clearing operation, that it is imperative that we do follow them. Last, a little note about a current environmental issue. In this month's communique, I wrote about personal protective equipment, PPE, and how it is becoming a huge environmental issue. In the article, I gave the following suggestions, which I believe they're worth repeating. If possible, the first one, if possible, use reusable masks instead of single-use masks. However, if you must use a single-use mask, make sure that before you dispose of them, to cut the loop that goes around the ears in half. That way the mask doesn't end up in the environment around the neck of some animal. And then make sure that you throw the mask in the garbage. Not on the compost, not recyclable, and certainly not on the toilet. That goes in the garbage bin. Last, if you have a question or comments, please do not hesitate to contact me. I'll be very happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you so much. And that's it. Have a good evening and stay safe.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres. And finally, reporting from seat number 1 on matters pertaining to public security and to special projects fundraising, Councillor Dino Mazzoni. Councillor Mazzoni, you're on mute still.
There you go. I apologize for that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to all of you. And again, I apologize for my earlier gremlin snafu with my phone here. So I'm going to provide you with some departmental activity here for the month of January 2021. This month was extremely quiet in the fact that we had no major incidents or serious crimes that were reported. And most likely this is due to the curfew, as the PSOs have only noticed the odd person walking a dog after 8 p.m. since the curfew has been in place. The PSOs have assisted Public Works with 2 snow removal operations so far this winter, and regrettably, about a dozen vehicles were ticketed and towed away for not complying with the temporary no parking restrictions. I'll talk about that at the tail end of my report. Again, I believe, and I apologize if this was already spoken about by the mayor during that in the beginning of the meeting, we did receive multiple calls concerning the traffic lights on Avon and Westminster, as they have been in a flashing stop mode instead of the normal traffic light mode over the last couple of weeks. The traffic lights are still the property of KPH Turcotte, and as such, we have notified both Transport Quebec and KPH to have the issue rectified as soon as possible. I did answer the question that Louis Chenvert asked regarding the Hump Bridge. We've rectified the signage there, so that should not be an issue anymore. Our PSOs continue to assist building inspections and the other departments that are working remotely due to the pandemic. No new COVID-specific measures were implemented in the town. Regarding SPM crime stats for December 2020, there were 2 break-in entries that were reported to the police, but we do not at this point have any details, nor did the citizens, nor did you inform us of that. It's really important that when you do make a complaint to the police, you also inform our PSOs that they're on the ground. They can be an extra pair of eyes and ears and be protecting our property and ourselves. Now, crimes that we are aware of for this month, as reported by our PSOs, or brought to our attention by citizens. We had a break-in of someone's glove compartment. Somebody broke into someone's car on Broughton early January, right after New Year's, and they went through their glove box. They didn't find anything, but not too long thereafter, there was the same resident of that car saw some footsteps in the fresh snow in their driveway from potentially another attempt to break into their vehicle. So our PSOs are mindful of that, and they're patrolling and giving extra attention to that area. In terms of the announcements, and to go back to that issue of the snowstorms and parked vehicles, due to the pandemic and the fact that many people are working from home, we do ask residents who park on the street to pay particular attention to the street signage after any significant snowfall. I'm talking about those orange signs, right? So be on the lookout for those temporary orange no parking signs. When they appear, it is forbidden to park on the street between 6 in the morning till 6 at night when snow removal operations take place. Illegally parked cars slow down our snow removal operations, and fines of $150 can be issued if the vehicle needs to be towed. And as I mentioned, we had a dozen or so of those cars towed. So that is my report, short and sweet, much like Councillor Yulin's tenure as Pro-Mayor in this meeting. If anybody wishes to contact me, they can do so by calling me on my cell or texting me 514-949-3055. And that's the end of my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mazzoni. Now we're going to move back to the regular agenda. Contracts in the Town Clerk's Office, declaration of a commitment on democracy and respect. Before we read the motion, I sit on the board of directors at the Union de Municipalité de Québec, and sharing story levels of intimidation and very bad things going on with elected officials in some of the municipalities. So we decided to put together a campaign to try and sensitize people to understand that it's never right to stalk, it's never right to threaten, it's never right to verbal violence towards any elected official in any capacity in any town in the province. So this is a motion that we're putting forward to support this campaign from the UMQ. If I could have somebody move the motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate your opening remarks. Whereas in several Quebec municipalities, it is noted that the polarization of public opinion in traditional media, and particularly in social media, leads to a multiplication of aggressive statements and acts of intimidation against elected officials. Whereas this phenomenon has grown since the onset of the COVID-19 crisis in 2020, whereas intimidation, threat, and verbal violence have absolutely no place in a democracy and do not promote public confidence and recognition in democratic institutions. Whereas respect is a fundamental element of a democratic society, which in turn requires the recognition of certain basic rights, including freedom of expression. Whereas a respectful democracy values the office of elected people and enhances the quality and authority of the institutions. Whereas the Union des Municipalités du Québec, the UMQ, has launched a national campaign on democracy and respect. And whereas the members of the board of directors of the UMQ adopted on December 4th, 2020, a declaration of commitment to promote both, I move, Mr. Mayor, that one, the Town Council of Montréal-Ouest endorse the declaration of commitment entitled La démocratie dans le respect, par respect pour la démocratie. Two, that the town undertake to support elected officials acting in all the various bodies that play a role in at the municipal level to enhance municipal democracy and build trust in democratic institutions. And finally, Mr. Mayor, that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the UMQ.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mazzoni. Can I have a seconder, please?
I second that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Oui.
Thank you very much. Number 10, Administration and Finances. 10A, approval of disbursements for the period from December 12th, 2020 to January 21st, 2021.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that the list of accounts payable from December 12th, 2020 to January 21st, 2021, totaling $550,766.02, be approved and paid as listed.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. Can I have a seconder, please?
I second it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. It sounds like I'm having a little bit of a technical issue, so bear with me. If I get disconnected again, I'll be right back again as well, like I did last time. 10B, délégation des pouvoirs pour le mois de janvier 2021.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'approuver les reports de la directrice générale concernant l'exercice des pouvoirs délégués en vertu du règlement numéro 2005-002 pour le mois de janvier 2021.
Merci, la conseillère Yulin. Je peux voir de l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Oui.
Merci. Urban Department, number 11, Site Planning Projects and Architectural Integration Program, SPAIP.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. As I mentioned, there's lots of projects. So I move first to acknowledge receipt of the minutes of a meeting held by the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, on January 20th, 2021. Second, to approve as presented under the SPAIP the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 95 to 97 Ronald, replacement of 12 windows. 5 Crestwood, replacement of 6 windows. 30 Sheraton, replacement of the front door. 60 Sheraton, replacement of the front door. 90 Sheraton, replacement of the front door. 147 Percival, replacement of 4 basement windows. 21 Curzon, replacement of 22 windows. 224 Percival, replacement of 15 windows and a patio door. 111 Brock North, replacement of 20 windows. 127 Percival, replacement of 8 windows. 354 Brock North, replacement of a side deck. Third, to approve with conditions under the SPAIP, the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendation of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 47 Ainsley, replacement of the front door. Fourth, to defer the examination of the following plans to a next meeting of this council in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 25 Fenwick, construction of an extension on the back of the existing house and replacement of cladding material on the dormers. 18 Rennie, construction of a 2-story extension in the back, replacement of windows and front door, modifications to existing openings, replacement of the fascia, soffits, and shutters. 57 Ballantyne North, demolition of the backyard mudroom, construction of a 2-story extension on the side, replacement of stucco, modification of openings.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. Can I have a seconder, please?
Yes, I second that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin. All in favor, please?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. We're now going to a minor exemption request. I'm going to ask Councillor Feeney to give us a little précis, please.
Okay, this is a particular case. Minor exemption, of course, is something which contravenes a current bylaw, and there has to be a very specific reason for this. This is a case on 37 Curzon, and they wished that a shed be built. A shed is normally only built in a backyard. However, according to our bylaws, this particular property is situated that it has no backyard as defined by our bylaws. So they've asked to have one in their side yard. So that is number one. And because of the size of the property, it actually is a little bit too close. So it doesn't respect the lateral setback by 18 inches. This did go to PAC. PAC understood that under these particular circumstances, they felt that it merited a minor exemption.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. If I could ask you, or if I could ask somebody to make the motion, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that the plans and requests submitted to the November 25th, 2020 meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee be approved in accordance with the bylaws 2010-002 and G18-0005 for the following minor exemption from paragraph 16 of section 4.1.10 of the zoning bylaw regarding the immovable located at 37 Curzon in zone RB-2 to allow the construction of a garden shed located 4 feet from the rear property line and 18 inches from the lateral property line on the east side, despite the fact that such an accessory construction is not authorized. Pardon me. The consequence being to disregard this prohibition.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin. Can I have a seconder, please?
I second that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. All in favor, please.
Aye.
All opposed, please.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Number 12, Public Works, removal of removal contract of public ash trees. Unfortunately, with all our good work trying to keep our ash trees safe from the emerald ash borer, we've done quite a bit of work. We were probably the first municipality to offer a subsidy to inoculate private trees, as well as all of our public trees. Unfortunately, there's still a lot of trees that are either already dead or close to dying and are becoming a safety issue. So they're issuing a contract to have 50 trees, unfortunately, taken down. So if I could have somebody move the motion, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Whereas the Public Works Department has identified 50 ash trees that need to be felled and uprooted because of emerald ash borer, whereas 2 companies have been invited to perform this work and both responded, whereas the department recommends to retain the lowest bid. Therefore, I move, first, that the contract for the felling and stump removal of 50 public ash trees be awarded to Hum Tree Services, Inc., based on a price of $51,145 plus taxes. following its offers submitted on December 9, 2020. Secondly, that this expense be charged at the budget code 02-750-03-419. And last, that the director or the assistant director of public works be authorized to sign any necessary documents required to implement this resolution.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres. Can I have a seconder, please?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mazzoni. All in favor, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. There's nothing under human resources, appointments, or deposit of documents. Alors, on passe au numéro 16, l'avis de motion, lecture et adoption des règlements. Adoption de règlement numéro 2021-001, règlement amendant le règlement numéro 2020-008 sur les taxes de la Ville de Montréal-Ouest pour l'exercice financier 2021. Je peux voir quelqu'un passer la motion, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, Monsieur le maire. Attendu qu'une copie du projet de règlement a été déposée lors d'une séance précédente, lorsque l'avis de motion a été donné et mise à la disposition du public en conformité à la loi, attendu que, lors de la présente séance, l'objet et la portée de ce règlement ont été résumés. En conséquence, je propose que le règlement numéro 2021-001, intitulé « Règlement amendant le règlement numéro 2020-008 sur les taxes de la Ville de Montréal-Ouest pour l'exercice financier 2021 soit adopté. »
Merci, la conseillère Fini. Je peux avoir de l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Yulin. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Oui.
See, just to give a little summary, that's the bylaw modification it's our first bylaw modification of the year to modify our last bylaw from last year. And it's the tax bylaw, and it's to delay the tax due dates till May 27th and August 25th. Councillor Fini, is that?
The opposite,
The
May
opposite,
25th and August 27th.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fini. So it's just to make official that we're delaying those dates, those due dates for our tax payments, our property tax payments. All right, we're at our second question period now. And until now, I have not received any questions for second question period. And those questions had to pertain on things that were in our agenda. So there are no questions for a second question period. Alors, je peux avoir quelqu'un pour proposer la levée de la séance, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose de lever la séance.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. Je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, j'appuie la proposition.
Merci, le conseiller Mazzoni. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Oui.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'm sorry, folks. This is probably our 10th regular council meeting since all this pandemic joy and bliss has started. And I think this is the first time where we had this level of technical difficulty among so many of us. So I apologize for that. I'm not exactly sure that anything's different. I'm doing this from home, and I've done these from home before. Councilor Mazzoni's done these from home before. So I'm not exactly sure why it's so problematic or was so problematic tonight. So I apologize for that, and hopefully these situations won't reproduce themselves in the future. Thank you very much for attending our meeting tonight. Merci tout le monde d'avoir participé à notre réunion ce soir, et on se verra vers la fin de février. We'll see each other again at the end of February. Please, everybody, keep safe. Thank you very much. Bonsoir.
Bye.